Your Sunday? How has been your Sunday? I think Sunday is already finishing. So how's your
Look,
been?
I think this has been a good day. It is a very significant
Uh,
um, decisions is so important for me, and so I think Sunday is such an important. Course.
yes, actually, very calm. I've been at home the whole day. I'm trying to recover from the whole week that was quite busy, and yeah, like now we're here. You know, we couldn't
Awesome.
manage to have this meeting yesterday, but praise God, we're here. Praise God, we're able to have this thing tonight.
Thank you so much,
So
bro. Thank
quickly,
you so much, man.
well, let me greet all the audience. Everybody who is following us, I can already see that there's people joining us from the other side. Welcome to the e podcast. This is Lucy Madu here, and you know I am here because of you, and you are there because of us. The reason why we are doing this is to ensure that our community, our people understand important things that makes our community to be our community. Sometimes we tend to, go beyond certain things that actually make our identity, but we fail to understand, the path that leads us to there. For this reason, tonight we are going to be talking about a very important topic that has to do with with the young people, and that's the reason why we have a young person as a guest in our platform to talk about this topic. Someone who has been involved in politics or is actually still involved in the world of politics. You know, he is still involved in the world of public service. There's a lot of things that he has been doing in community empowerment and in the business space, working with entrepreneurs, working with people who are actually supporting the community, the growth of the community. This is the reason why we have brought him here so that we can engage and talk about an important topic that is politics, leadership, and the youth. So our guest was just joining us. Just gonna be checking out because I saw he left the live. I don't know what's going on, but let me just try to find out if we can rejoin again so we can kickstart. But you are watching us from wherever you're watching us. I think it's back. From wherever
Yeah,
you
yeah,
are
I'm back.
watching
So
us,
sorry, the reception.
no problem, brother. So for those who are watching us, please, share this link, like and comment. This is a conversation time. I want you guys to be able to talk to us, engage with us, post your questions, post your comments, and share this live with as many people as possible. Your friends, your family, everybody needs to know, everybody needs to be part of this moment. So going deep into our conversation right now, we have in our panel Mr. Gama Cuba, who is the founder and the CEO of Isizo Generations, and also the main visionary of Cuba Foundation, and has been also working with Sanitation Ambassadors, who is an amazing organization that is bringing up an innovative way to promote sanitation in especially rural communities or areas that have little access to proper or system of this water distribution. And we'll be talking with Gamma right now, but I want to welcome Gamma. Welcome to my platform. Welcome to ePodcast, where the real conversations take place. How are you doing, my brother?
Uh, Thank you so much, Mr. Smao, for this invitation. It's such an opportunity. It's always also a great opportunity when young people congregate and they come to.
Yeah.
Kudos to you for having a platform. And it takes special talent to be able to adjust and set these things up. And I mean, I know you work with you. You are super talented.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Thank you very much for those kind words. I feel like we all, as young people, we deserve to have a platform, right? We deserve to be in a platform because sometimes we are just told that we want young people to be part of the of decision making. We want the young people to be part of the table, sit on the table, talk about the issues. But the reality is that they actually do not really give us the opportunity to talk and be heard. So we have to create our own table. We have to create our own platforms where we talk about our own things, and they must hear from what you have to say. So this is why we are here. So, Mr. Gama, before we go to other points of our conversation, tell the world who is Gama Cuba, basically.
Look, I normally hear this conversation in tribe sector that I exist. This is in faith,
Mm,
in governance, and as well as in entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, where you have to
mm.
be linear. And, so I would want to say I am the activist. You not want to say I am the person of faith, but then
Mm.
wants to box you, So who am I? I'm a young person. I'm energetic. I'm a believer, and
Mm.
and as well as my society. So I'm crazy enough, so I'm a crazy guy. I think that's the important thing. I'm the crazy guy.
You're the crazy guy.
From a more technical point of view, I'm an entrepreneur and an activist. That's what I do. You know, we see a gap between development and of product, and so help us to implement their emerging economies and rural spaces. And so that's us.
No, impressive, man. It's really wonderful. But I wanted to know what is your experience? Like let's put a bit aside the business model of who you are, but talk to us a bit of your experience growing up as a young man from Eastern Cape, who now became such a personality in the continent. I mean, let me just put it in South Africa specifically,
Thank you.
in the political space. What tell us your trust story, your journey.
Yeah, I would like to variate between politics and activism. Politicians are the guys who get paid for doing nothing. And activists are
Mm,
the people. And so I am
okay.
an activist on a day-to-day basis. I don't sit down talking about policies and a bunch of pieces of papers that must align
Mm,
with another country that has nothing to do with our
mm,
is concerned. I'm an activist, right? And
mm,
so, but I
mm,
grew up in an environment. I'm the last born of eight. I'm a rural boy, and I grew up in a
mm.
conservative. Mother is a mother. I grew up. I had a father
Yeah.
young, and I
Mm,
then had the opportunity to be raised again in a nuclear family. Not so sweet, but it made my personality. Right? You must take your own life in your own hands. No guy in the
mm,
sky is going to be doing things for you, and so I wasn't expecting my father to do anything for me. I wasn't expecting my mother to. They have left off is where I can pick off. And so
mm,
coming from the rural areas, then I have a rural approach to approach to I always say indigenous thinking. I apply values like isintu, which is an overarching, umbrella to nguni thinking. So as impengu myself, I then subscribe to those values, right? I subscribe to that thinking that a community cosmos is related into its past, that it influences the ancestors and the future of those who are coming. I exist in an ecosystem from a philosophical point of view, in an African indigenous ecosystem that thinks in a public. So that's me. And this was so important. It was so important. It was so important to exist and become part of people, that what you do does not just impact your personal development, but also other people's lives.
Yeah.
It impact your
Mm.
community.
Wow. I like that when you say that what you do impact not just your family name, but also impacts your community. And that's very important, you know, because sometimes as young people, we tend to do things without thinking on about the future, about how this thing reflects where we come from. You know, your identity as a person, as a young person, it's very important that you defend it in your trajectory or in your journey to being an adult, to being the man that everybody wants
Yeah,
to one day, look at. And that's one thing you have been working on. And I really, for these years that we have been good friends. I mean, I've seen that in you, that energy,
thank you
that
so
power. I praise you for that, and I'm very sure that your family, your friends, people like me, we look up to you too. We also look at, hey, Gama Cuba now, that guy, hey, don't play,
much.
So, but let me go to my first question, okay? Because I know you have worked with many of the politicians that today we know. You have worked with Musimane, for example, in his campaign in Knisha. You have worked with PMC, Marius, Freshman. You have worked with even some of the prominent parliamentary individuals, including you're actually a close friend to the nephew of Mama Winnie Mandela. So this tell us a bit of that journey there. Like how did you manage? How did you get involved in that circle?
Sometimes I don't think of these things the way you see them and other people see them, right? Because to me, I was saying it's not like I planned to be involved in social movements. I planned to be involved in political thinking and discussion. I never planned this. When I emerged, in these conversations, when I actually had taste for governmental people because I genuinely thought they were the most unreasonable elder. They steal the lived experiences of our oppressors. So the liberationists are in cahoots. This is me now. For I in cahoots former oppressors and creating the guise of peace because I would have met the people that I met. That I met them and I realized they were nice people trying to change their immediate realities. No one's in politics to change the world. They are all in politics, food on their table. The second, that it was incredible of them how much they love their families, their wives, their kids, their relatives, because that was why they were so surprised and so impressed by this. The third thing I realized was politicians are just incredible. successful people, careerists, trying to change their immediate realities. And this is something I want to emphasize in this. And so, how did I get into that? Look, I've always been fortunate with his ideas. I grew
mm,
where I was in my second family, trying to prove to me that I should not have talking a lot, but I grew that talking was not the problem, but not knowing when to shut up was the problem. And so it was my mouth that opened the way for me. You get what I mean?
mm, mm.
Into a space, and I would not come to Stellenbosch, and everybody's white and is thinking in an English and an Afrikaans way. I mean, I met guys whose name is Bongani, and when they were in Stellenbosch, they were Bongani. And so I'm a rural guy, and I know that this guy's name is not Bongani. He's Bongani. So I
Uh,
wouldn't. In America, the same phenomenon occurs where African Americans, when they get into white corporates, they have to code switch and act white and behave white so that they can be accepted.
mm,
So this
mm,
to be popular quickly. This made people acquaint themselves with me quickly because they were used to something that's not authentic, and they met and come from a rich family. I don't myself as someone who comes from a poor family. I would introduce myself as someone who comes from a rural community, not an urban community, someone who comes from a government public school. I realized that the people who came were interested in being friends with people who came from poor schools. And so this worked to my
mm,
advantage, Lucy Maggio. It propelled me into tables that I didn't expect. Because people are so used and exhausted. They'll see, they're tired
mm,
of black folk who are, privileged, no roots,
mm,
dependent of roots, my brother. You black and wealthy, but still have roots, particularly in Africa. You should be the root. So I was just that guy. And I realized it worked for me and it became my brand. And so but because I defend my, so that's how I got into those spaces. That's how people then got used to me. And the people I am acquainted with are people who share my values, people who are advanced with and who continue to become my friends, who advocate for having roots and being vocal about roots. So we don't have to fake
mm.
our names and be, and people will say, then why are you Gama Cuba? All I will speak Portuguese, call Germans who speak German call me Gama Cuba. Dutch people who speak Dutch call me Gama Cuba. Then because I'm around the global community, I've then become a rural guy from the village, Gama
Oh wow,
I'm
that, that,
offend
that's
somebody here, bro.
that's interesting, bro. That's very interesting. I think it's the same thing with me because I remember even when I was growing up, the same time when my dad went for a travel, in a working trip. And at that time he was working offshore, and he took his time to go and do our documentations because we didn't have our documentation at that time yet. So because we were still very kid, so he went to find some time during the break time. He went to get our documentations ready, and the lady in the home affairs that we had that was writing our documents, our books, she couldn't spell my name properly, right? So they're used to Portuguese, used to the language of that everybody is speaking. So my name is very traditional, right? So because my original name is Lucy Manadio, right? And then she couldn't she couldn't write that name properly. She didn't understand it, so she broke my name down. Like, so she basically just destroyed it. She, instead of writing Lucy Manadio, she wrote Lucy Madio. So it stayed until today, the name stayed Lucimario because of her. So my dad was telling me, look, it was because she couldn't spell your name properly because it was hard for her to spell it. So that's why she had to write it that way. But I was worried because the meaning is gonna change, you know. So then it's like, no, it's not gonna change. It didn't really change the meaning. Um, that's why I decided to keep it. But we can already see the problem that we have when it comes to these issues of trying to westernize our names and our ways of living to match the way the Western, yeah, things like that. And I think we need to advise young people to stay true to their own identity if they want to make it to the top, if they want to get into spaces. You are an example. And I will tell you, I've experienced the same thing, just the same thing that you are saying today. I've known in spaces, and I've get to get awards and be nominated in spaces because I stay true to who I am, and I
Yeah.
speak what is here and here. I don't try to make things look beautiful for people to say, you speak so nice. No, yes, I speak nice, but I speak the truth. you know.
Yeah.
So we have to keep that. It's very important. But going to the next question I wanted to ask you is based on your on your space, being a politician, a young politician or a young man involved in politics. How does political instability in a region affects the aspiring or the aspirations of young people to be activists?
Yeah. Yeah.
On your
So,
opinion, you know, yeah,
your question is so touches two things. It touches the geopolitical situation, like for example,
hmm,
the domestic. This is in South Africa in particular.
yeah.
We even at a level and at a geopolitical.
We're just facing a little bit of a technical clinch. I think it's from Mr. Gama's side. Hope he gets back soon. But anyways, while we're waiting for Mr. Gama to get back to us, please feel free to continue to share this live with your friends and family. Do not watch it alone where you are, but share it with your friends and family. We want as many people as possible to be part um, of this live. Thank you very much for those who are already following us, for those who are already watching us. I really appreciate you. And if you have any question, if you have any comment, use the comment section to um, to write your question, write your comment. It's going to be really amazing. Please let's avoid any type of harsh comments, any type of expressions that might be offensive to the viewers and to the guests, but rather let's be a family, let's be a community who is here to learn from each other. Okay, so we're just gonna wait a little bit. Um, for Mr. Cuba, I'm not sure is gonna get back. He might have got in the call or something, but he's gonna join very soon. So tell me, dear viewers, what do you think about what we have just been discussing? I mean, what are your opinions around, um, you know, politics? How does politics in your country or in your region has been affecting young people from getting involved into activism? Because today we are seeing that there is a lot more activist young people than older ones in around Africa. Most of the people who have become strong and powerful activists in Africa are young people from years back. You know, um, Young people have been participating in the activism strongly in the continent, and their involvement as in the activism in the continent have changed a lot of things, in the government in terms of governance and laws and policies in Africa. So, but looking at the current situation, it has become even worse. That more young people has been involved in, um, you know, in the activism space. What are your opinions around that? What are your opinions around this situation, this issue? You know, is it a good thing? Is it a good thing that we are having a lot of young people, becoming activists? You know, um, because I mean, this is all it's all involving around bad governance, and because of the bad governance in Africa, young people have no choice but to become activists, but to fight for their rights, stand for their own selves. But to you as a viewers, I would like you guys to comment right in the comment section. Do you think it's a good thing? What is it that you believe that should be done around this? You know, let me hear from you guys. Let me hear from you, following us from the other side. What are your opinions around that? Mr. Gama will be joining us soon. I'm just checking on him. Might be is facing some technical issues with his internet, but is going to be joining us very soon. So, what are your opinions, dear viewers? What do you think about this? You know, what more do we think? What can we say about this? Young people being involved into activism. There's something that I actually want to read for you guys. It's actually be very, very good, that we understand the reason why young people are so involved into activism. This is very important for us to get. You know, it says that according to some research, it says that between 1995 to 2010, young people themselves have immersed, have gotten into activism due to the challenges, you know, that they have been facing, you know, things like climate change, things like inequality, things like social unrest, political division, distress, and more. A lot of other things around this have brought the Gen Z or the young generation of today being involved into activism, you know, because we see things differently. And I think that is the reason why the leadership of our countries in Africa, they are still struggling to lead young people. The biggest struggle that the governance in Africa is facing is their ability to lead young people. Because young people are not conservative. Today's generation is not conservative. That's one thing we need to understand. Today's generation is not conservative. Today's generation is creative, innovative, transformative, and it's open to change. So this is what characterizes today's generation in Africa. Okay, we are not waiting to keep any to for people to decide for us. We want to be part of the decision. We want to be involved in the process, and we want to be involved in the implementation of these decisions. So, but because of the fact that we are not having that opportunity, that's why things are getting worse and worse. That's why we are fighting because just simply, having this idea that we publish and say, have a seat on the table. For young people, it doesn't work like that. You know, have a seat on the table doesn't work like that. Having a seat on the table is not the only thing that young people need. I praise the president of Botswana for giving three main powerful posts or positions in the ministry to young people: the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Youth, and the Ministry of Mining. Three of this he gave it to young people. Strategically, I mean, it's just powerful to see, you know, because now we have because young people fight for mostly good like equality and good governance and social equality, right? Like we have social rest, if I have to put it that way, and giving young people these three different positions, like health. That means we are going to innovate, we are going to innovate in the health space. We're going to have equality, equal service to everybody: young, old, women, men, children. They will have the same high standard or the same standard of service delivery in the health space. Okay. And the same thing, we are having it the same thing for the mining industry, where now if we have a young person leading in the mining industry, automatically that shows that we will have more young people involved in the mining space, and potentially we will have less children operating in the mining space. They need to go back to school, you know. So equality and respect for human beings. And if in we have a young person leading the ministry of youth, that simply means we have someone who understands the youth. We can't be led by an old man who has already passed his youth time to become the ministry, the minister of youth. It doesn't make sense. Those are things that we need to fight in Africa because we think that the older you are, the better you understand things. No, you might be older and have wisdom because of your experience, but you don't have anymore the capacity to think based on the modern times, based on the current times. Because those who live in the current time are the people who are able to think differently, are the people who are able to think based on their time. And in Africa, the conservative leadership is not working anymore because those who are leading with using the conservative leadership approach are the people who are old, very old, too old, and they are in those positions. So it is very bad. Why? Because they maintain things the way they are. Because when we have a conservative leadership leading our continent, what happens is that they don't want to take risks. They're not open to changes. They don't want to listen to the young people, to the innovative mind and the creative mind, because they believe that things should be kept the way they are. But this is not what young people want. Young people don't want things to be kept the way they are. Young people want change. Young people want transformation. Young people want innovation. Young people want a creative approach to leadership. That's what young people want. That's why we need a leadership in Africa that is going to turn things around. And I'm very happy to have Senegal now having a young person, a whole, a young leadership with a really full and powerful mind that is bringing creative and innovation. I praise Guinea, Benin,
For the same,
things, you know, and it's quite powerful.
it's quite powerful. We are checking out now. I think Mr. Gama is facing some technical issues. So I think the best way, because of the technical issues that we are facing with Mr. Gama on his side, we might need to move. Apologies. We might need to move his interview to another time so that he can be in a better space for better connection. But we will end with this. We as a young people, we are ready to lead. That's one thing that we need to know. We young people, we are ready to lead. We young people, we are ready to stand for Africa. We don't want more young people, more young Africans having to travel to Europe and America and Asia looking for better opportunities. Opportunities are here in Africa. Opportunities are here in our continent. But what is going to make things easy and what is going to help young people to stay in the continent and work for the continent and even attract the Africa diaspora back to the continent and empower it, their own continent, is if the leadership that we have in our country or in our continent switches from a conservative leadership to a creative leadership approach where we are open to take risk, we are open to changes, we are open to new ideas, we are open to have young people in decision making space to make final decisions. We want young people involved in the spaces. And once we have this, we will have a different Africa. We will have a different continent. Things will be way different. And I'm so sorry for all the elders that are leading Africa. It is time for all of you to step down. It is time for all of you to step down. And I will say that again. It's time for all the elders leading African continent to step down and let young people lead the continent. Because we need different approach to the leadership that is being seen in this continent. We want a creative approach to leadership. We don't want a conservative approach to the leadership. This is my request to all leaders in the continent. Thank you very much to all the viewers. Thank you very much to everybody that has been with us since the start um, of this podcast. We will have Mr. Gama Cuba next time, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to have another very wonderful and powerful moment with him of a really empowering time. So thank you guys, and let's have a wonderful time ahead.